All right. Does that work? All right. Yeah. Hi, I'm Lutz. I'm an innovation strategist consultant. I work for a lot of big companies, from building up the ecosystem for Bayer, Grants for Apps, to Thermo Fisher, to Roche, and for a couple of years I dived into that. I'm also an investor, an angel investor into the healthcare scene. I would really like to see, for example, Computational Life, who were part of the Startup Bootcamp Digital Health Berlin, to be here on stage, because I think they're part of the future. Well, so why is healthcare so different? Well, actually, if you go to a store and you buy some cheese, you're actually the decision maker. So you are the person who buys the cheese. So very simple. And you can afford it. When you earn around about 50K a year, so in Germany, you pay like 15 to 18% of your income to your health insurance, and you get insured. So if you broke, while you're buying the cheese, if you broke your arm, you actually pay just actually nothing, and the rest of the costs, which are covered by the insurance, are covered by the insurance. So there's a gap in between what you actually pay annually to what is actually costing. Now imagine the case when you suffer from multiple sclerosis, which costs you like 40,000 euros a year, roughly, about the whole direct and indirect costs. The health insurance covers this all. So the question is, can you afford it? No. And why do you still receive this high quality healthcare? Well, there's a kind of an intergenerational contract. I don't know if the same is in Poland, but that means that the young and the healthy are paying actually for the sick one and for the elder generation, because if you're getting older, you're getting more sick. And we don't get the money back, even we pay for it. It's going to be spent to those who need it. So why is healthcare then so different than buying cheese? Well, actually, it's a complex ecosystem. You have like healthy people, which are a big market. You have patients, so healthy people turn sick, right? You have payers, you have insurances, you have a lot of digital companies, you have physicians, pharmacies. It's a complex ecosystem, but what's really, really important is that the buying process is cut. It's not you. You are not buying it, right? Someone else is paying for that. So I'm here to talk a little bit about the future. And well, we imagine the future like cats on vacuum cleaners and robots eating everything. But I brought you a little bit of a glimpse, like what's going out there. So we will see actually like 9 different topics, from personalized analytics to VR to AR to telemedicine. Your ohms, I don't know how familiar you are, but there's a lot of, you have your genome, you have your microbiome. There are a lot of data your body collects and has, and which can be measured, but that tells you much, much more than you know actually about your healthcare if you analyze this. So the costs for personalized analytics, so for the sequencing of your human genome, are really shrinking. Who of you has done a gene test, like 23andMe or something? One person? I think around about 20 million did it worldwide to do a gene test. So, but it's a growing number. It's really interesting. I also did it, so it's very interesting. By the way, I'm 40% French-Polish and 40% German and 15% Irish. So classical European, so let's unite. 23andMe is someone, you do a little saliva test, and then your genes are going to be analyzed. You get an outlook on your health predispositions. You get also an outlook like where are you coming from, what kind of ancestors you have, and you make maybe new friends as they're reaching out. Hey, I'm your 4th cousin, and I'm living in Oregon, so well, how's life? Very interesting. Then another one we see is the ubiome, or the tubiome, is collecting stool. So in your stool is a lot of information about your gut, about your microbiome. So who of you are not familiar with the term microbiome? It's actually the summary of the bacteria in your gut and in your and in your body, and you can measure them, and they tell a lot about your health and how you digest, how's your physics are doing, etc. And they're also very much connected to a lot of severe diseases, for example, like dementia and stuff like that. Well, then we have another one, which is called gene editing, or the stem cells. So in the future, you can see that a lot of companies invested into that technology because they envision that in the future you will edit and change the genes which are broken and replace them with new genes. So that sounds a little bit weird, but the question is, if you get personally asked, like if you're maybe pregnant or you have a very personal case, would you do it or not? This question has to be answered by you then, if you would actually use the technology, if it's safe or not. But this is something which I believe will happen, that people are changing the genes to actually have a less suffering life to their children. Then you have cellularity, so stem cells are actually the raw body materials, and this company, Cellularity, they just raised $250 million last year. They're actually taking the stem cell from the placenta and trying to develop this technology or those cells that it can generate new child cells to actually heal severe diseases which you maybe face at a later stage in your life. Very interesting technologies. Then, who of you has an Apple Watch or a smart device, a smart tracker, a diagnostics? Quite a lot, but yeah. So there's a big market out there. It's growing and growing and growing and growing. We see it everywhere. Fitbit just released a lot of devices. You see, I'm not naming the Apple Watch because I will get back to it later. But we have, for example, the Fitbit Health with a big set of devices to wear to measure your steps, your heart rate, your sleep, etc. And this is a very interesting point because it's slowly but surely moves into our daily life, and we're not seeing it as a big threat. People are getting used to it. So that will definitely be one thing we will see over and over again. Then there's MySpiro. I think they're even a Polish-based company who are a smart inhaler, so also to collect data, to improve therapy, and to help patients living a better life. AliveCore, something maybe you read about. You just put your buttons there and it's running a very good ECG. Apple is now actually challenging this with the Apple Watch, so you just push the button, or even the next company, Withings, they're also having a watch with the ECG function. So this is something which will help us living longer and healthier, because you can detect AFib, so a kind of arrhythmia of the heart very, very fast. And that actually 9 out of 10 strokes could be avoided if you are measuring your heart rhythm regularly, because then you see, okay, AFib is actually causing a stroke. So very interesting. You have a ongoing measurement, and that will help you to avoid a stroke. Then the Mango Mirror. Personally, I believe that the bathroom will be the lab of the future. So you go in a very private space, very personal space, and you get a check, daily. And that means early detection of diseases are cutting the costs for the payers and for the insurances. And you have an early detection if something goes wrong, and especially in the case of cancer, of fast-growing cancer, it's a big advantage. So the Mango Mirror is something which is going into that direction of smart diagnostics. And then there's the Oura Ring. I also have one. It's very nice. So LeBron James, Michael Dell are invested into them. It's a Finnish startup, and it tracks sleep, and it tells you how well you sleep, what was your activity. I really like it, and especially I like the ring. So I don't have a watch. A watch sometimes is annoying when you sleep, but a ring you don't really actually wear. So very smart thing, and it costs you $250. So it's also an affordable thing. And for me personally, I lost one, and I was very sad about it. So that's a good indication from a user experience that you want to have something if someone takes it away. Then we have the big topic of telemedicine and AI. There's, for example, Otto Nova. It's a German, the first private health insurance in Germany, so totally digital. They don't have an office. You just have a concierge online. You use this tool, right? You say, I'm not feeling very well, etc. They're going to schedule you an appointment with a doctor. You can see your lab results, and you get the results in there. So this is something which we will also see, that the whole patient journey is digitalized, and you don't go to a doctor sitting there for 2 hours waiting for an appointment. And that's also private health insurance, which is also available for expats in Germany, which is highly attractive. Then we have Vivi. Vivi stands for a couple of electronic health records, but this is the most famous one from Germany, a private initiative. So this is a place where you collect all your medical data, and you can, go from one doctor to a specialist, from a specialist maybe back to a doctor, then into a hospital. You can share it with your family and friends, etc. So it's something which is so obvious that we need it, but it took ages to bring something like this live for the first time. Ada, please download it, use it. It's a kind of a symptom checker where you can just assess yourself and your health. And they raised an investment, I think like 40 million. And the reason why they raised this investment was very interesting. So the wife of one of the private investors, she has a severe disease, and by chance she used this app. And after 7 minutes, the app identified, so it's a complex medical algorithm there, like 50 doctors and scientists are working on the medical information in the background. So it's not just an app with an interface, it's really tough medicine. And within 7 minutes, the app diagnosed her severe disease. And she said to her man, she said, look, I needed 5 years to get this diagnosed. This app did it in 7 minutes. We need to invest. So very, very, very funny story. And then, of course, Zebra, I already saw some AI here for doctor brain scan. That's obvious. That technology will actually enhance radiologists and make them better radiologists because they can diagnose faster and more precise what they see on images. So image recognition and AI is a no-brainer. And then we have the big pharma industry who's actually also looking into the drug discovery. So they're trying, like computational life, they're trying to simulate the body, they try to simulate the molecules, they try to simulate the whole effectiveness of drugs and how will it work in the body. So they are actually trying to bring this very analog experience of testing a drug into a digital stage. Then we have personalized nutrition and food. You have base, you're measuring your blood, and then you get a personalized doses of nutrition. You have day 2, it's the same, but not measuring your blood, but measuring your stool. So they check out if your microbiome has a certain level, and then they say, well, this is the nutrition you need. Clinical evidence is given based on a trial. And then not so much about nutrition and food, but also personalized dose system. So for the elderly, that they can, get the right dosage, that it is just very simply click open and the perfect amount of pills is there when you need it at this time, at this day. Medical printing is still not really lifting off because of scalability and also because organs are very, very, very complex. But straight as this is, for example, one company who's doing the modeling for teaching purposes, very interesting. But then there's a company which is called Selling. They provide the printers actually to scientists who print then the biomaterials and do the bioprinting to run experiments on this material. So they try to experiment with this to replace actually then in the long-term vision like animal testing, etc. Robot companions, I mean, look into the US, 50% of the nurses are above 50. We will have a shortage of nurses, not only in the US, of 1 million nurses are in the US will be, is a lack of them by 2030. So in the same pictures in Europe, we will have a lack of healthcare professional everywhere, from doctors to nurses, physicians, general practitioners. So that's the reason why we have to invest into robotic companions, because also like hospice, like people who are caretakers, who actually lift old people or bring them somewhere, they actually quit their job after 6 years on average. So if you see robotics and or skeletons who support those people doing their daily hard job, I think it's really needed, because technology needs to support us and needs to replace the lack of staff. SoftBank, we got Mr. Pepper around here, but look, the use cases are very, very obvious for using robotics in the healthcare space, and SoftBank just acquired Boston Dynamics a couple of years ago. You all know those guys and what kind of things they're capable of. So don't wonder if in the future someone will actually, or when we are old, I believe those guys will take care of us. Then the AR, VR topic, big space for mental health. So to simulate like anxious environments, people have fears, have anxieties. Then also for meditation, so it's also kind of an augmented thing that measures the brain waves and gives you tips how to actually meditate and how to get your focus. And then there's one also I like to show. It's a kind of a self-appeal, so it's a telemedicine approach. It's not really VR, AR, but it's a telemedicine approach for mental health, so that you can use, also simulate certain situations together with your therapist, sorry, over your smartphone or your computer at home. Well, last but not least, the health literacy is also ramping up because doctors in the future, they need to catch up with technology and they are overwhelmed which technology to trust. So there are some startups who are dive deep into that and already are the market leader in the medical training in university and hospitals. We have AR, VR using medical realities, as it's called, to learn actually surgery in a virtual reality. And last but not least, I want you to look at this because it's code check, and I believe in the future we need much more of those kind of apps who tell us if the product is actually delivering a health benefit or is it not delivering a health benefit. Besides that, it should tell us is the carbon emission of the product, how much water was used to produce the product. So I believe we need this kind of technology and those apps to have a transparency in the products we're purchasing and in the service we are using. Well, so to bring it to one point, I think customer needs first. There's a shift from products to services to outcome-based healthcare. Tech needs to become a staff member, no doubt about it. Don't be afraid of technology because there's no one who will use technology in the future. Regulators need to adopt. We need to cut down the administrative stuff and the burdens there. And one thing you should understand, healthcare is not easy to disrupt. Because why this is, I'm gonna explain in a second, but just to put the big picture, where are we going with technology? We have like 5 megatrends. So like I told you before, the aging generation, the aging society, we have demographic changes, we have a scarcity of resources, so a lack of resources in the future. There's not a limit of lithium or something else, so we cannot build unlimited products. We will have climate change. A lot of people die of climate change because they're dehydrating, heat, especially older people. And we have the globalization, so it's and speed. So those countries are not anymore lagging behind. Last year I was in Bangkok on a fair trade like this, and I tell you, it looks the same. And there are small healthcare startups, AR, drone mobility, financial services, all the same. And they have the same speed. So we are in a global, very fast competition. Yeah, and some last words, the last 2.5 minutes. At the same time, in the corporate galaxy, we saw that a lot of companies were disappearing, 50% actually in the last 15 years. So we all remember Nokia, that's just 10 years ago, 1 billion customers. Can anyone catch the cell phone king? Haha, lol, they're dead, now they're coming back. Yeah, technology is faster adopted than ever. And also what you see here is the smart speakers, for example. They're coming also into the healthcare space. Google Pods, Amazon Alexa. There's one startup I'm also invested from Poland, CardioCube, which is pretty good. And they are actually using this as an interface to the doctors staying at home. Yeah, so all those pharma and Medtech CEOs, they were just raising their voices and saying, we need a digital transformation, right? But they were really excited about it. And they said, like, let's do a design thinking, we will find new business models and sell more. But I believe this is something which is just partially working out. So they started to build their corporate accelerators, their corporate incubation. These are examples of out of Germany, company builders were created. But my 3 things is, if you want to stay competitive as a corporate or as a big player, I think you don't need an innovation lab, you need everyone to innovate. You also don't need a digital mindset. This is bullshit. You need a digital tool set and the minds will adapt. A mind adapts to the setting and not the other way around. And then they try to become startups, right? Like, oh yeah, we need to be like startups. Looking at Bayer over there. No, you need open innovation. You need to collaborate with startups. You need to collaborate with small and medium-sized companies. But don't try to transform your corporate employee into a startup guy wearing jeans and a T-shirt and having some fun in a co-working space. So you need open innovation. Because you need to innovate because someone else is eating the cake. The tech companies are eating the world. We have a 3 trillion market in the US. We have a 300 billion market in Germany. And if you combine this, the market cap of Apple is actually 3 times the size of the top 3 pharma, Johnson & Johnson, Roche, and Pfizer. So why haven't they bought actually the pharma companies? I don't know, but definitely tech companies are becoming the new competitors. We have seen like Foundation Medicine or Flatiron or 23andMe getting bought by the pharma company. The investments of Google are getting bought. My time is up, but I'm going to finish very soon, just my last 5 slides. So Apple is entering the healthcare and they're going to eat this cake. They're going to eat blood, they're going to eat diabetes, they're going to eat cardiovascular, they're going to eat a lot of things. And Amazon, imagine this, fast delivery, they will eat the pharmacies. And Walmart is already a healthcare provider in the US, so a big retail chain is getting into that space. All right, so like Mark Twain said, predictions are difficult exactly when it comes to the future, but we will see, and I would be, my last recommendation is to move fast and move your asses, otherwise someone else is eating the cake. Thank you very much, and please connect on LinkedIn.
Thank you very much.